Good afternoon everyone from here at the GolfMagic team, or good morning or good evening from wherever you are joining me around the globe. Welcome back to the GolfMagic YouTube channel. If you guys are new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below to get up to date with all our equipment reviews and much more going into 2021. Now today I am super excited to bring you the new range from Cobra Golf going into 2021. Cobra have announced their new irons, hybrids, fairwoods and drivers, and it is called the Cobra Rad. A name that some people may not like, but I will get into the reason behind their madness in the technology section of this video. What I'm reviewing today in this video is the drivers from Cobra, so the Cobra RADSPEED and the Cobra RAD XB Speed. So what Cobra have released, they've released 3 models with this range, the Cobra RADSPEED, the Cobra RAD XB Speed and the Cobra RAD XD Speed. Pretty self-explanatory as to what each model is, but I will go a deep dive into all of these in the technology section of this video, so stay tuned for that. First of all, let's give you a quick rundown of the looks of these wonderful drivers. So Cobra have stuck to their guns for the designs of these and have produced 3 exceptional looking drivers. I'm really impressed by what they've managed to produce here, because for me, the Cobra Speed Zone was a driver that I really liked the look of. It was modern and you kind of felt like you're going to absolutely bomb it every time you hit it. So they had a lot to live up to, especially with Bryson doing what he's doing with his Cobra Speed Zone, and they've done really well here. The fluorescent yellow colour that's in the colour scheme of all 3 drivers is something that I look back on the nostalgic side because of the Nike Vapor Pro, Nike Vapor Speeds that were part of all of our amateur golfers' lives in 2015. But what they've managed to do is add a lot to it with the white and black and the weighting that they've put in each club as well. As I said, what I've got with me today is the Cobra RADSPEED and the Cobra RAD XB Speed. The difference between them of the design is that the Cobra RADSPEED has a matte finish looking down at the club, whereas the Cobra RAD XB Speed has a glossy finish looking down at the club. So actually quite a significant difference between 2 models from the same product line. If you kind of think back to other models such as TaylorMade and Callaway, they do have different models in each product range, but they look pretty similar. These, for me, I could actually look down at one of them and you could say one was a previous model going back to it, because they do look very different going down at a dress. They do have the same design looking down at it either way, but well, again, one is glossy and one is matte, so you can tell them apart really significantly, which I do think is quite good because they both offer very different features. The Cobra RADSPEED, you can tell, is a little bit smaller and more of a compact put together head, whereas the Cobra XB Speed is larger and again looks more forgiving, which I'll get onto in a bit, and that completely attests to the specification behind these clubs. Both clubs come with a Motor X F3 shaft by Fujikura, which is a really nice standard shaft to have for a standard specification that you can also get off the shelf. And the grip as well comes with the Cobra Connect Acros feature in all Cobra product ranges going into 2021, and they've been in 2020 as well, which I'll get onto the technology side is a massive feature that we should all pay attention to going into next year, because it can help your game significantly, and we need to talk a little bit more about it. So before I try these 2 clubs out, let's go back to the studio when I can do a massive deep dive into the technology behind the Cobra Rad, why I've called it the Cobra Rad, what's different to last year with the Speed Zone, and how I think these 2 clubs are going to perform. Let's go back to the studio. With any new product that gets released nowadays, there should be new technology that comes with it, so that you're sure that the club that they're releasing is going to help your game. With Cobra, they've done just that. The Cobra Titled RADSPEED is somewhat of a strange name, but the reason behind this is the new technology that they've put into each club. The main technology and the innovation that they've put behind this is radial weighting. Now, radial weighting is coined from a very popular engineering formula, which is called the radius of gyration. The radius of gyration is the distance from the club's centre of gravity to each specific weight or technology. By increasing the distance between the front and back weights for each driver, Cobra have been able to maximise the distance, ball speeds and forgiveness for the Cobra King RADSPEED. As you can see in the RADSPEED XB here, if it wants to focus, yeah, there you go, that there are strategic weights positioned in the front and at the back here. That means that there is maximum ball speed and forgiveness for each driver. But for the 3 drivers that Cobra have offered, the weighting is a little bit different, and I'll get into that now. So Cobra have released 3 drivers with this product range: the Cobra RADSPEED, the Cobra RADSPEED XB, and the Cobra RADSPEED XD. Now the Cobra RADSPEED is the tour version and the one that delivers the lowest spin. It does this by having a frame that features 32 grams positioned as forward as possible, and 20 grams of that is fixed weight and 12 grams is adjustable weight, and this delivers ultra low spin and Cobra's fastest ball speeds to date. As well as this, an additional 14 grams of weight positioned in the back, and 12 grams of that is fixed weight and 2 grams is adjustable, creates a perfect balance of front and back weighting for RADSPEED and forgiveness. So this one is known to be the tour version and supposed to produce the most optimal numbers for the better players. The Cobra RADSPEED is 460cc, and this is the same across all three products. The Cobra RADSPEED XB stands for extreme back weighting, and this one is coined to be the most forgiving driver out of all of them, for someone who wants the straightest drives and the most forgiveness. The RADSPEED XB driver features 24 grams positioned in the back, which is 18 grams of fixed weight and 6 grams of interchangeable weight, and that creates Cobra's most forgiving RADSPEED model. An additional 8 grams of fixed weight is positioned in the front to lower spin for the longest and fastest ball flights. So you can see the difference there is that the RADSPEED has 32 grams positioned in the front of the club, whereas the Cobra RADSPEED XB has 24 grams in the back of the club. So completely different radial weighting for different types of your game. So if you do need more forgiveness, definitely the XB is one to consider, but we'll get onto the performance of that in a little bit. Finally, there is another driver in this product range, which is the Cobra RADSPEED XD, which is the Cobra Extreme Draw. This is similar to the Cobra XB in terms of forgiveness, but they position the weighting more around the heel of the club, meaning that is a draw bias and you shouldn't be getting those banana slices that we're ever so fond of. In comparison to the other models, what Cobra have done as well is they've refined their T-bar on the club, making it 7 grams lighter, which means the 7 grams that was initially there can now be spread across the driver for optimal weighting for their RAD technology. As well as this, you can see that the club has a CNC Infinity face design, which has expanded the milled area of the club by 95%, meaning that you can still get optimal ball speeds for when you don't strike it as well as you're supposed to. And finally, and I do mean finally, let's talk about the Acros caddy that is involved in every single Cobra club going into 2021. The Acros sensor is seamlessly embedded into the grip of every single club, and what you can have with this is if you pair it with the Acros Smart Caddy app, you can record your data on the course. With this, you can get your stroke scale analysis on the course. You can also pair it with the GPS app that Acros have to get a plays like yardage and basically analyze your game like the pros do. It's been proven that if you use this app, you can lower your handicap by several strokes depending on what your handicap range is. So there's definitely something to utilize if you're in the market for a Cobra club going into next year. So as you can see there's a lot of technology to take in for all of these Cobra clubs. So I hope you've been able to sit down, have a cup of tea, and take in all the information that I've given to you. But with technology, it has to then transpire to optimal performance in the club. So let's get back to Gray's Golf in Lewis and see how I got on with both the Cobra RADSPEED and the Cobra RADSPEED XB. So the Cobra RADSPEED and the Cobra RAD XB speed. This is a really interesting one. I love testing completely new product ranges going into a new year, and these with being jam-packed with technology, I expected a lot of good things. As said, there's a lot of technology going into this club, but the first thing I noticed, and let's go with the RADSPEED to begin with, is looking down at a dress, it's quite different to look at compared to other models because of the design, but to be honest, I really like it. The matte finish for the RADSPEED alongside the carbon crown and the milled face that you have, it looks almost like a spaceship when you look down at it. With the other milling as well, it's so cool to look at, and that for me instilled a lot of confidence when I was hitting the golf ball, and I didn't expect to absolutely bomb every single drive with the RADSPEED particularly. I was using the 10.5 in both clubs, so I was expecting quite a high launch angle, and I was using a stiff shaft as well. I usually tend to do X-Lac shafts, so I was maybe expecting maybe a little higher spin, but nothing too massive, maybe a dispersion a little bit all over the place. But let's talk about that now, and let's go into the RADSPEED. Let's first of all put the data that I got for this club up on the screen now. So I went through 2 golf balls when using this. I used the TaylorMade TP5X and the Vice Pro Plus, because I did notice to begin with that it was going around the 2,600 RPM range, which is optimal, still between 2,000 and 3,000, but I kind of like getting the 2,200. So I went down to the Vice Pro Plus, which usually spins a little bit less, and I did get around 2,400 on and off, but I was averaging out around 2,500 for this club. So very mid spin range. They do attest this to being low spin, so it was interesting. I expected to be a little bit low spin, but that could be down to the launch angle as well. The main thing I want to talk about is the forgiveness that I got with the RADSPEED, essentially the tour version for this club. It is supposed to be for the low handicap players, with the other ones going towards the mid to high handicap players, but for me, the dispersion that I got here at Gray's Golf is the best I've ever got it here. I didn't hit a bad shot at all. They were all going pretty straight. The only shots that I hit badly were down to my swing, and either way, I felt like the club protected it quite a lot, so that I was only offline about 10 to 20 yards. If you're thinking on normal play out in the fairway, that's still going to be either in the first cut or you just creep into the rough if you're playing a narrow course. So it wasn't the furthest driver I've hit, not by quite a significant margin. I was getting around, I've had other drivers be about 10 yards longer, but I don't really care about that, to be honest. This club was more optimal in terms of the performance I was getting because I wasn't hitting any bad shots. There were some shots I was hitting that were going around 295 yards, and maybe if the spin was lower, I'd probably get a little bit further out there, maybe around 320. But with this, it was going straight every single time. The feel that you get off it with the new face technology that they've put into the club as well, I loved hitting it. I didn't even want to be filming this right now because I just want to be continuing just to hit this club. So I would give the top marks for the performance of this club, despite it not being the longest club that I've hit so far this year. I would expect to hit other clubs further than this going into the new year as well. I would expect other brands to release clubs and for me to be able to get a few yards more on this, which may not be the most positive thing, but I would still probably choose this club over that to begin with because of the performance I was getting it for forgiveness. I would sacrifice 10 to 15 yards to get a fairway finder every single time, and for me, I feel like this Cobra RADSPEED is the fairway finder of 2021 because the new technology going into it with the new radial weighting, even if I wanted to change it to get a bit of lower spin, I can optimize this with the radial weighting that they offer you with the club. So many positives for me, and because it's a tour version and I can mess around with the weighting in the club and perhaps get the lower launch angle because of the 10.5 degrees, I think I can optimize this going out on the course and make this an absolute bomber. So the RADSPEED, top marks from me here. Now the Rad XB speed was really interesting because I mentioned before that it does look very different to the other tour version, and I can still completely, after hitting the club, I completely agree with that still. It could almost be a different product range completely despite the similar design when you look down at the club, but the gloss finish and the Cobra logo still being in that gloss finish, it's interesting. It has the same milled face, but it looks a bit different, and for me, I do prefer the matte finish, but for the mid to high handicap player golfers, maybe you prefer the gloss finish. The gloss doesn't produce any glare at all, so don't worry about that. There's obviously a little bit of shine that you get out of any glossy finish club, but nothing that would put you off in a bright sunny day. I've got many lights beaming down at me here and I'm not having a problem at all, so don't worry about that. Performance of this club being an XB, so expecting massive forgiveness, and I got exactly that. I tested the Cobra RADSPEED having massive forgiveness, but this was even more than that. The one thing though is that it had a very high spin rate, so I'll put the data up on the screen now, and as you can see, it's just above that margin of the 2,000 to 3,000 RPM range, which I could have guessed that before I hit the club because of it being the Rad XB. It's offering more forgiveness, it's offering more getting it in the air and just going completely straight. So it's not the club for me, but in terms of the forgiveness factor, again, this was even more so than the RADSPEED in the Tour version. I hit a few shots when, on impact, I thought, I'm going a little bit too out to win there with an open club face, I'm going to hit a little banana slice, but the club somehow centered it and it went pretty straight. Again, I didn't hit this club very far. With the data on the screen there, you can see I'm lacking in distance a little bit for this one, largely down due to the spin rate, but no negatives here for me because I think this is perfect for someone who needs that little bit of help, a little bit extra spin, and I can't really put a foot wrong for this one because I feel like it's going to be so easy to hit it straight, which is what I did. My launch monitor that I can see back there, all I'm seeing is straight arrows completely down the middle, more or less, because you'd expect when I hit other clubs, it's almost like it's all over the place like zigzags. Not this one. For me, I feel like I look like a little bit of a tour player going into the launch monitor here at Grays Golf. So it's very nice to have a new product that makes me feel great about my game with both products, not just the tour version, which I would consider putting in a bag. The XB version as well is so easy to hit that bad shots felt like good shots, which is exactly what you want to hear for a driver. The entire range comes in with an RRP of 369 for each driver, which I'm blown away by. For a driver going into 2021, I could be wrong, but I know £369 is still a pretty penny in today, but that's really cheap. And I'm thinking of current models now when filming this, going into December, we've got clubs discounted from £499. when this is a good 20 or 30% cheaper. So massive plus for every single range here. You can get it at a pretty affordable price going into today's market because other drivers are coming in at around the £500 range, whereas these clubs, with the performance that I give and the price that they offer, I'm thinking, yeah, top marks for this one. If I had to give any negatives onto this club, I can't really think of any apart from just with the design of the face here. I imagine that that's going to wear quite quickly, especially on the XB with it being shiny. Only time will tell, so I'm not going to give that as a negative. It's just my one consideration looking at these clubs. I feel like with the impact marks that you get, especially your wooden tees, it's going to go scrape through it and it could get marked up quite quickly. Not a problem because it's just down to the design of it that you wear at a time. Every single driver gets it, but I feel like the XB especially could wear a little bit over time. I'll see, because I'll hit it a lot over the next year and I'll see how it gets on, but something to consider. Now down to the medal awards for these clubs. It's a shame I haven't been able to hit the XD, but it's literally the same as the XB in terms of design and just different weighting, so it would mean that I wouldn't be able to hit any sort of banana slice if you've got that massive problem. So suited towards, again, the mid to high handicap players and the same sort of design as the XB. But going into the RADSPEED to begin with, so the tour version, the price and the forgiveness that I have, the only negative is that I do expect a little bit more distance out of it, but I feel like over time if I can fine tune that driver, get an optimal shaft and change the launch angle from the loft that it offers me, I can probably make it a bomber. So I can't really give this anything other than a GolfMagic gold medal, because it's the first product that's been released out of all the top quality brands, so it's going to have a lot to live up to and a lot of technology being put into this, so it needs to have optimal results, and it really did. The distance, yes, not great to begin with, but definitely not bad, and the main thing that I want to talk about is the dispersion that you can get and the forgiveness that you can get off a tour version driver. This is the club that professional golfers, PGA Tour players will be putting in their bag, and we can put that in that bag. You might be worried that you're not going to get the optimal forgiveness there, but I can completely say, and this is an unbiased opinion here, that that driver goes straight, very straight. For a driver that is a tour version, that's quite surprising to see. I'm thinking back to many years ago with the TaylorMade SLDR, an amazing driver, but one thing was it was very difficult to hit. That driver is not difficult to hit at all. So if you are towards that low handicap range, let's say, I think you're a pretty decent driver, I give that one a go because it does just go straight, and if you can fine tune it and get custom fitted, which is what we at GolfMagic here recommend, that's going to go a long, long way. The Cobra XB speed driver I do like a lot, and I feel like for the mid to high handicap range, it is a really great driver to get your hands on and try, because the forgiveness that it gives off and still pretty decent distance with the really nice design and the new technology packed into this makes it an all-around club. For me, the one thing that I wouldn't say rivals it with the RADSPEED is that the gloss finish does put it back a little bit. This is personal preference, but us at GolfMagic do prefer that matte finish just because it looks a little bit more classical for me. And then you don't get any necessary glare if that's an option on those sunny days. So just because of that, for now, I'm going to give the Cobra XB Speed a GolfMagic silver medal. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this in the next few months, and if I up it to gold just by the durability that the face has, then I will let you guys know. This was a really interesting video to produce, and there's so much information that you guys have been given here by us at the GolfMagic team, so take your time to watch this video, get an accurate judgment on if you think you want to try this driver going into the new year, and then let me know down in the comments what you think of the two drivers that we've tested. I'd be really interested as well to put these drivers up against the previous model of Cobra, so the Cobra Speed Zone. So if we can get 200 likes on this video, I know, a big ask, I'll release a video in the next few weeks comparing the Cobra RADSPEED against the Cobra Speed Zone to see the difference between them from design, technology and overall performance. So get liking the video and we'll see how we get on. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video today. It's a lot of fun testing a new range, and there's a lot of more exciting content to come in 2021, so keep your eyes peeled. If you guys are new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below to keep up to date with all our new equipment news, tour news, challenges, and much, much more going into the new year. As I said, we've got a lot of exciting content coming your way in 2021 and onwards, and I want all you guys to be a part of it. So subscribe and turn notifications on so you can keep up to date with all the videos coming out in the new year. I'll see you guys at the next video.